Hi, I'm Brenda with Hayneedle, and today we're going to be doing a short assembly video on the Valona filing cabinet. Approximate time for this assembly is about 45 minutes. Tools needed for this is a smaller Phillips head screwdriver and a bigger Phillips head screwdriver, which are not provided. You want to start by removing all of your contents from your box. Then you want to take a brief inventory to make sure you have all parts and hardware necessary for this assembly. For the first part, you're going to need 6 of your wood dowels labeled as A, 3 of your cams labeled as B, 3 of your pins labeled as C, and then you're going to need 3 of your front braces labeled as 4, and your right panel labeled as 3. Now you're going to take your dowels and place them on the 2 outside holes. And then you want to take your pins and tighten those in the middle hole. Now we're going to be placing our pieces 4 on. You want to make sure that the finished side is facing out. Then there's going to be 3 holes where you're going to insert on top of your wood dowels and your pin. Now we're going to be inserting our cams. You want to insert those with the arrow pointing down. Now taking your Phillips head screwdriver, you want to tighten those into place by turning it clockwise. For this next part, we're going to need 2 of our pieces labeled as 5, our rear middle brace, and then we're going to need 4 of our wood dowels labeled as A, 2 of our cams labeled as B, and 2 of our pins labeled as C. Now on the opposite side of your piece 3, you want to insert your 4 dowels on the outsides. And then you want to take your pins, insert those in the middle. Then using your Phillips head screwdriver, you want to tighten those into place. Now we're going to be inserting our piece 5. You'll see the 3 holes on the bottom. You want to make sure that these 2 holes are going the same way as your opposite side. You want to insert over your pin and your dowels. And then for your second piece, you want to face this one going in. And now we're going to be inserting our cams with the arrow facing down. You want to insert those on the bottom hole. Now using your Phillips head screwdriver, you want to tighten that into place. Now you're going to need your piece labeled as 6, which is your rear bottom brace, your 2 dowels, which is labeled as A, your cam, which is labeled as B, and a pin, which is labeled as C. Now you're going to be inserting your 2 dowels on the outside holes, and then your pin in the middle. Then using your Phillips head screwdriver, you want to tighten that into place. Now on your piece labeled as 6, there's going to be 3 holes on the bottom. You want to make sure that this piece is facing out. You want to place those over your pin and your dowels. Now we're going to be inserting our cam lock. You want to put the cam lock in with the arrow facing down, and then using your Phillips head screwdriver, you want to tighten that into place. For the next part, you're going to need 12 of your dowels labeled as A, 6 of your cams labeled as B, and 6 of your pins labeled as C, and you're also going to need your piece labeled as 2, which is your left panel. Now you want to take your dowels and insert on all the outside holes on your piece 2. Now you want to take your pins and insert on all the holes that are in the middle. Now you want to take your Phillips head screwdriver and tighten all those into place. Once you have everything tightened down, we are now going to be placing our piece 3 on our piece labeled as 2. You want to make sure that your pins and your dowels are going in the middle holes. Now we're going to be inserting our cams. With the arrow facing down, you want to go through and insert on all of your bottom holes. Now using your Phillips head screwdriver, you want to tighten all of those into place. For the next step, you're going to need 4 of your dowels labeled as A, 4 of your cams labeled as B, 4 of your pins labeled as C, and then we're going to need our top panel, which is labeled 1. For the first step, you want to make sure you insert your cams first with the arrow facing up on all 4 of your top holes. Now you want to take your dowels and insert on all 4 of the inner holes on the top. Now on your top panel, there's 4 holes on your outside, and that's where we're going to be inserting our pins. Now we're going to be placing the top panel on the top of your cabinet. You want to align all of your pins and your dowels with the corresponding holes. Now taking your Phillips head screwdriver, you want to tighten all 4 of your cam locks. For the next part, you're going to need your back panel labeled as 7. You're going to need 19 of your screws labeled as D. Now you want to place your back panel on the back of your cabinet, and you're going to find these pre-drilled holes all on the side. Then you want to take your screws, and using your Phillips head screwdriver, you want to tighten those down. You want to make sure on your back panel that you have where the up sticker is facing, that's the side that's pointing up. There's going to be 3 holes that are towards the middle. You want to make sure you insert your screws there and tighten those down. Once you have all of your screws tightened down, it'll now be time to assemble your drawers. This next part, we're going to need our pieces 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. We're also going to need 8 of our screws labeled as G. First, we will be attaching our piece 11 to our piece 13. You want to make sure that the grooves are lined up when you pick your pieces up. You want to make sure that this is on the outside. Once you have that placed on the side, you're now going to insert your screws. Then using your Phillips head screwdriver, you want to tighten those into place. Now with our piece 12, we will be doing the same thing. We will now be attaching our piece labeled as 9. You want to make sure that these 2 grooves are closer to piece 13 and the single groove is facing the opposite way. You want to place on the top of 13 with your corresponding hole, and then you want to insert your screws. Then using your Phillips head screwdriver, you want to tighten those into place. We'll be doing the same with our piece 10, just making sure that those 2 grooves are closest to your piece 13. For this part, you're going to need your piece 14, which is going to be the bottom of the drawer. You're going to insert into the grooves and just push it in. Might help if you tip your drawer up. in order to push all the way down. Next, we're going to need our piece 8, which is going to be the front of your drawer. Then we're going to need 8 of our screws labeled as G. I'm going to take your drawer, and once again make sure the groove is on the bottom of the drawer for piece 14 to fit into. Then you want to match up your corresponding holes. Insert your screws. And using your Phillips head screwdriver, you want to tighten those into place. And now for the bottom pieces, you want to match up your holes. You got to make sure this piece 14 is in the groove in order for your holes to align. Once you have those inserted, you want to go ahead and tighten those down with your Phillips head screwdriver. Then you want to repeat these steps for the opposite side. For the next part, we will be putting on our drawer handles. You have two different options. You have E or you have E1. If you choose to go with E, you want to use your bolt labeled as F. If you choose to go with E1, you want to use your bolts labeled as F1. For this assembly, we chose to go with drawer handle E, so we're going to be using our bolts labeled as F. From the inside of the drawer, you want to insert your bolts and just press those through. And now you're going to take your door handle, line up your holes with your bolts, and then using a Phillips head screwdriver from the inside, you want to tighten those into place. If you choose to go with drawer handle E1 using your bolts labeled as F1, you would use the same process as you used for drawer handle E. For this next step, you're going to need 2 of your file rails, which are labeled as H. You're going to place them inside of the drawer where the grooves are in the front and the back. Now that we have this drawer assembly completed, you will repeat all of these steps for the 3 remaining drawers. Now that you have all of your drawers finished, you now have your Valona filing cabinet.